So we finally have the full spoilers for chapter 26 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and let's just say that Daemon versus Sarada is about to go crazy. We also have some political drama with Konohamaru being arrested and Shikamaru's Akage position hanging in the balance. So we have a lot to discuss, but of course, let's start from the top. So the person on the cover is Momoshiki, which is typically how it works. The person who's the focus of the prior chapter is usually on the cover of the next one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now the chapter begins with Inojin paying a visit to Himawari and giving her free honey, which was the topic of the first sneak peek. He then walks away, which is when he's approached by one of Kashin Koji's toads. He then tells him that he has a few questions, but it's not so much a question but more so a confirmation, because of course he already knows the answer. And for those who were saying that, well, Inojin might not have feelings for Himawari and he just wanted to thank her for saving his life and that's all it is, well, Kashin Koji outright says, you have feelings for Himawari, don't you? Am I wrong? And then, of course, Inojin starts to panic and blush, and Koji kinda uses this to recruit Inojin to his side, per se. He tells him if he wants to hear the details on how to protect her, he has to come with him. And by the way, at this point, he has no idea who he's speaking to, it's just a random toad. He then picks it up and is reverse summoned back to Kashin Koji's hideout. I will say that bro just went with a random toad with no idea if he's walking into a trap just because it said that it had info on how to protect Himawari. I think it would have been better if he saw the toad and said, oh, it's a toad from Mount Miyaboku, which would imply that he has some trust in that toad. But I do get what they were going for, because the entire point is that he's making an irrational decision because of love, which is the main theme in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. So it makes sense, but it's just illogical, but I think that's the entire point. But yeah, he's then teleported to the base and he sees Kashin Koji, and Boruto is also there sitting in his chair, you know, aura farming as per usual. And this kinda reminded me of that scene back in Naruto when Sai went undercover to join Orochimaru's squad so he could get rid of Sasuke, and he found him in Orochimaru's lair just sitting there aura farming with his Sharingan. And it's so funny because of course Inojin is the son of Sai, so I get what they were going for here. With that said, we then switch over to the Shinju and Jura is crying once again. He tells Hidari that this is a book in the category of a novel. It is a work of fiction, but he underestimated it. So Jura finally discovered romance novels and he's reading Twilight for the first time and he's a bit sad, of course. Hidari then mentions that before something similar happened not too long ago, which is referring to the fact that Jura was crying. He then tells him that was the emotion of Matsuri, various emotions she felt through her connection with Konohamaru, anger, sadness, and then love. The tears, of course, is a byproduct of that. He then asks him if it's gross and Hidari says no, it's interesting. Jura then goes on to say that it still isn't enough for him to truly understand and control love. He needs more information. Now Momoshi then butts in for the first time and says, information isn't really anything all that special. Ada, she's the woman I've set as my target. I think I get it. There's a concrete reason for that. The reason I want to eat her isn't just about simply preying on her. It's control. That's what I meant by wanting to make her mine. To take her excellent genetic information. Now I will say to take this translation with a big grain of salt, because first he says that information isn't all that special, then he says here that he wants to take her excellent genetic information. So it's kind of contradictory there, but you know, just wait until the full chapter comes out and you know, we'll see. With that said, we then switch over to Shikamaru heading towards his meeting with the elders, and he's then contacted by Kashin Koji using Inojin's mind-body transmission jutsu. He then tells him that in the worst case scenario, he could be removed from the position of Hokage. If it actually comes to that, it would be trouble as well. I'll give you all the advice I can, but whatever happens is up to you. Act with caution. He then walks into the room and is shocked to see the personal assistant of the daimyo, Lord Kubo. And by the way, the daimyo is pretty much the president of the Land of Fire, so think of the Land of Fire as America and the villages as the individual states. Anyways, they then went on to question Shikamaru about the mission he planned to the Sand Village and carried out on his own authority. Lord Kubo then says the daimyo is questioning the responsibility of you, the village leader. These days, the very necessity of the ninja village's survival is frequently brought up as a topic of discussion. Depending on the circumstances, this could be more than just a matter of budget cuts, which is him pretty much saying, yeah, you could be fired today. Now, I don't want to bore you guys with the entire dialogue of the chapter because, again, this is a very text-heavy chapter. I will try to summarize it though. So Shikamaru goes on to explain that the village is currently under the threat of the Shinju and they're not the kind of people that can be reasoned with. He then goes on to tell them that he obtained certain information. The details of the mission and the selection of the personnel are all based on this information. Now the elders of course want to know where this information is coming from. But of course Koji pops in and says, I'm sure you understand, but don't mention anything about prescience. And this part is very interesting to me because I don't recall Koji telling Shikamaru about prescience. So maybe that happened off screen. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, Shikamaru then just flat out refuses to tell them where this information is coming from or tell them anything about that information. And they get pretty pissed off about that. But of course he offers to take full responsibility if anything goes wrong. Now of course the elders are just focused on the source of the information and we come to find out that they already have someone in mind. So the guy then goes on to say, I can't imagine, but the provider of that information isn't that rebel Boruto, is it? They then go on to say that they heard from someone that Boruto is very knowledgeable about the Shinju. In fact, there are rumors, whispered as if they were true, that he might be secretly connected behind the scenes. The claim, of course, is that Boruto is scheming behind the scenes to deceive the people of the village, using information as bait to try and dismantle Konoha from within. It is for revenge against the village that drove him to do this. That is when Konohamaru kinda chipped in and tries to defend Shikamaru, and Shikamaru tries to stop him, but Koji tells him to allow him to do it because that will take some of the heat off of him. Konohamaru then tells them that Boruto saved his life, so he doesn't think that he has any ill intentions against the village. But of course the elders aren't having any of it, so they call him a fool and asked him if he forgot that Boruto killed the 7th Hokage. He's a great criminal and nothing less than a threat to be dispatched. That's when Lord Kubo steps in and says the mission itself may at first glance seem like a success. However, if there's a traitor within the village who is in contact with a criminal, that is a different matter. It becomes a serious issue concerning the security of the Land of Fire and the prestige of Konoha. He then tells Sai, because Sai is also in the meeting room, to take Konohamaru into custody. I will conduct the interrogation personally. And this part is kind of funny because he goes on to say how Boruto managed to escape restraint and get away the first time back in chapter 14. There must be a traitor who assisted his escape, and he kinda looks at Shikamaru and we can see him sweating because if this is proven to be the case, bro isn't just losing his job, he's going to prison. Now we then switch back to Inojin and Kashin Koji and Boruto, and Inojin is kinda concerned because he's now wrapped up into this because he's helping them, and they tell him that hey, it is what it is man, we have bigger fish to fry. Inojin says, I also fought Jura to whatever extent that was, but he understands, to protect everyone from that monster, to protect Himawari-chan, you need determination and strength. And it's just funny that Boruto has no reaction or any thoughts on his attraction to Himawari because again, Kashin Koji outright says this in front of Boruto, so Boruto knows, he just doesn't care, he's like okay, fine, I guess. Now Koji then gets pissed at Boruto and says he doesn't really like his attitude because Boruto is kind of just sitting there in his chair being all nonchalant. He's acting really weird. I do wonder if that's Momoshiki's influence, but We come to find out that the reason why he's behaving like this is because he doesn't trust Koji anymore, because he was hiding inconvenient information about the mission and how many people will actually die to see it succeed. And Koji just says, hey, I just guided things towards the most certain outcome for Sarada to awaken her Mangekyo. After all, it was done while avoiding a future where a large number of people would be helplessly killed. He then says if there's any more childish criticism, I'll listen to it. Boruto then leans back in his chair and says this is a waste of time, hurry up and get on with it. Koji then contacts Shikamaru once again and tells him that in about 1 week from now, Mamushi the Shinju will appear in Konoha. The target of course is Ada. I will explain his abilities and the method to deal with him. We then switch over to a conversation between Ada, Sarada, and Sumire. And of course she wants to find out when they're going to confess their feelings to Boruto. Sarada of course says that she's not sure because he's not in a place to do anything like that, so it'll be kinda weird and awkward to bring it up, and Ada says that she's a boring kid and passes the question over to Sumire. And Sumire of course is a bit more straightforward, so she says, I guess it depends on the timing. I might confess suddenly, unexpectedly. Ada then gets excited because that's what she wants to hear. And Sumire says that in the end what really matters is Boruto's feelings. Just like Sarada says, that's when all of a sudden Ada gets serious and she says, by the way, after getting all excited talking about the love stories up to this point, I know this is kind of sudden, but let me ask again, you guys aren't enchanted by me, right? Then of course everyone has the Pikachu face, shocked, they have no idea what to say, and we see Daemon, he's not sitting beside Ada, he's off to the side leaning against the wall, and he's kind of giving them this look like he's, you guys are very suspicious. Sumire then remembers what Shikamaru told them, don't let them catch on that you aren't enchanted by Ada, because your life might be in danger. Ada then says because that is how it is, right? To talk about liking someone other than me while I'm here right in front of you. Normally that just wouldn't work. Absolutely not. So pretty much Ada just played them and got them to reveal that they aren't affected by having them confess their love for Boruto directly in front of her. That's when Daemon walked off heading towards Sarada, and she then immediately activated her Mangekyo Sharingan. Though before she could do anything with it, Daemon pretty much speed blitzed them and appeared behind them and grabbed on to their necks and says, you were trying to do something just now, Sarada, your proud Mangekyo Sharingan. If you die before using it, it's useless no matter what it is. It has no meaning. And that is where the chapter ends. So yeah, crazy stuff is happening, whether it's the elders trying to capture Shikamaru because of course they're gonna find out that he's the one who let Boruto escape. And then we have of course Daemon versus Sarada, which I'm looking forward to. I think Mamushi is gonna show up and just break up the fight, to be honest, but hopefully we get some interaction between both of them before that happens. But I guess we'll see. With that said, that is it for the video. If you guys liked it, drop a like. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.